Mark Greenawalt here, and this is 12 Note Design, and we're here today with Michael Markowski and Nathan Blackwell. We're at the film premiere this weekend at Phoenix Film Festival for The Last Movie Ever Made.
Hello there. There's no easy way to say this, but your entire reality has been a computer simulation for about 100 years, and coming to an end in 30 days.
I want to go out with a bang, right? Like a big CGI explosion with a shockwave. We are going to shoot our last epic film. Who's with me? Hands in!
You want to spend your last days on Earth making a sci-fi movie.
I can't seem to shake them!
I don't know who in their right mind is going to sign up for this.
I can't act.
I know that may be disqualifying for some productions, but not for ours.
We have to hurry. Gang will finish powering up the death ray at any point.
And you're doing an accent.
I'm trying something out.
It can't just be okay, it has to be remarkable.
Can't it just be very good and we actually get some sleep tonight?
Come on, man, don't forget what we're trying to do here.
I just want to make sure we go out of this world without anything hanging over us.
Marshall, you need to sort your priorities.
At action!
Help!
We will fight and hopefully vanquish this evil for once and for all.
So I think just to kind of get things started off, I kind of wanted to ask, how did you two meet?
That's okay. We have some mutual friends, Ryan Gaumont and Adam Rainey, both who are in the movie and have been in sort of our movies before. But we initially met over a project called The Constant Epiphanies of Billy the Blood Donor.
That's the official title.
Yeah, and that the timing just wasn't right for that one. But we eventually came together. Again, when was that? What was the first thing that we actually did? It must have been Voyage Trekkers, right?
Certainly the first official project was Voyage Trekkers, but I wrote a couple of cues for Billy the Blood Donor. Right. I don't know if we ever used them or not. I was like, was I still in high school or like just outside of high school or something like that?
It must have been like 2006. So, yeah.
Right after
I don't want to have to do the math. Yeah, so it was a while ago.
So you met back then, so let's talk about Voyage Trekkers as being one of the first ones then that you got more deeply involved. What was the process? How did he give you what cues you needed, and then what did you do with that information?
I don't remember exactly. I know Nathan would certainly send me a cut of like an episode, and we're talking like anywhere between 3 and 6 minutes or so of a particular episode, and I don't remember if I was just like staying up all night, but I would turn around like a rough draft of the score really quickly, mostly because no living musicians were ever going to play this music, so it didn't have to be practical. In a way, I could just like write it on my computer, and the computer could just spit it out however it was going to be. So in that respect, I was able to write very fast and just write for whatever sounded right for the picture. But
yeah, and beforehand we definitely had conversations about what was the sound we were kind of looking at. We were looking at like Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and like some very kind of classic like Star Trek, the motion picture, not the literal motion picture, but the motion pictures, the movies that they did that had kind of a big grandeur, and the idea was that the world was supposed to be a big sci-fi movie, and not comedic. But then the characters could be comedic in it. It is kind of a contrast. Like it was a serious sci-fi world, but full of idiots with our character.
One of the things I loved about working on Voyage Trekkers is that If you don't know what this web series is, it's basically about like the worst crew in the entire galaxy, and we're giving them the big fancy orchestra they don't deserve. You know,
it's always the kind of like the build up for then the joke. You know, any little moment of success or grandeur or like, you know, or musical, like, you know, wonder, that means that we're at the top of the roller coaster and we're going to start coming down.
So next question that I kind of had is maybe influences for soundtracks. I mean, I think of, you know, Star Wars has become so ingrained in what we're thinking, and I go way back even farther than that with some of the John Williams things. What's some influences maybe that you had or that you had for movies?
Well, I think for Voyage Trekkers in particular, Nathan wanted me to look at Star Trek, and so the theme to Voyage Trekkers is certainly, it's not a parody theme of the Star Trek. I forget which. It's just, was it the TV show, The Next Generation, or has that always been the?
Yeah, I would say there's a couple of, like, I don't know what they're called, ballads that each of the first couple of movies had, and then after that they kind of just started repeating them. But like like the Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and then also like Star Trek The Next Generation main theme, which was in the first Star Trek film. Like those two were kind of like that Jerry Goldsmith kind of like big orchestra wonder, because they were still trying to kind of create something that was like in the vein of like 2001 or the original Star Wars, like the grandeur of it, you know. And so we were kind of going for that, at least for Voyage Trekkers.
So speaking of orchestra, this project you went above and beyond what you've done before, I believe, with hiring a orchestra. And tell us real quickly, you're in New York now, and tell us how that connection got made for
the connection with the orchestra.
Yeah.
So a lot of like very low budget TV shows and movies, if they can't afford the wonderful musicians in LA that are a part of the Musicians Union, a lot of times they'll hire musicians outside of the country because it's just frankly a whole lot cheaper to do that when they don't have the budget to do so. So there are a handful of for-hire orchestras, primarily in Europe, and the one that we hired for this particular project is a company called Budapest Scoring. So very fine musicians from Hungary and to the neighboring countries there, coming together to play all these kinds of soundtracks for our project and for projects like Netflix, things that they produce. So they're becoming quite prominent in this particular space and quite competitive.
So in connecting with them, you can't just tell them, hey, just give us some music, just give us something that's really cool. You had to write every piece of music for every instrument, is that true?
Yeah, but that's not a big deal to me because that's what I do on a day-to-day basis. I write a lot of music for concert bands specifically, so like kids who play clarinet and trumpet and percussion and stuff like that in school bands, marching bands and stuff like that. So I'm used to preparing parts like that for multiple musicians. That's not a problem. As I remember, we were hoping that we could hire a real orchestra, and again, not for like a multi-day recording session. We actually just we paid for 75 minutes of record time, and which yielded about 8 minutes of edited music. But as I recall, we were not even going to do that until sort of like the 11th hour. We were pretty happy with the MIDI mock-ups.
Yeah, we had to wait until I got a tax return, and then we could afford it. And then the question was like how to, because there was going to be more music than just the 8 minutes, and so how to divide like the different types of sounds in the movie.
So how about the ones that weren't orchestrated? What's your process there? Do you it's MIDI, but it's through a keyboard, or?
Yeah, it's all what we say in the box, so using synthesized samples, virtual instruments, that sort of thing, all just in the computer, in sequencing software.
And which software?
I use Cubase. I've just used it for a long time, but a lot of folks use like Logic or all these programs basically do the same thing. It's just like, which one did you grow up learning?
And is there any specific sound library that you love what they have that you would recommend? Or
Every composer who does this sort of work mixes and matches different libraries, and sometimes the occasional live instruments. So one trick that you hear quite often, again in like low budget projects, is this mixture of samples and maybe one live instrument, like maybe one violin or an oboe or something, to trick the ear into thinking like, oh, that doesn't sound like a robot is performing this. This sounds like there is some sort of heart to it. So,
now you went to ASU for music, correct? And my question along with that, you're laughing, so I'm anxious to hear the answer to even that part. But is that where you got the knowledge, or has it been afterwards that you learned it on your own?
I was actually rejected from the School of Music here, so I had to join a lot of my friends in the film and theater department. So my degree's actually in what they call film practices. I've actually worked this festival as part of, when I was in college, 13 years ago, 2010. And so I watched a lot of movies and cartoons as my degree, but I've been doing the concert band thing for so long that it's really a joy to come back and be able to collaborate with friends here and do the occasional little film project, even though we don't get to do it.
And what's your primary instrument, and what all instruments do you tend to play?
Yeah, so I was a saxophone player. That was probably my best instrument. I sang in choir, did musical theater. I play piano, but I couldn't play it for you. You know what I mean? Like, I know how it's played, and I use it as a tool when I write, but I'm not a pianist.
How about you? Do you
what
play
instruments
anything?
do you play?
No, I did choir.
Did you really?
Yeah, for 4 years.
That's not.
What part were you?
Yeah, that's not an instrument.
What part were you? Were you a bass?
No. I guess what, baritone?
You sound like a baritone to me.
A British tar is a soaring soul.
I did not know this about Nathan. I'm overjoyed. This is why we actually.
Yeah.
This is why we connect on a deeper level than.
It's funny. It's like there's some songs where our choir teacher liked a lot of pop songs that she grew up on, and for whatever reason, like I can't remember what I had for lunch today, which was like an hour ago, but I can remember like all the lyrics to La Bamba. I can remember all the lyrics to Hound Dog from Elvis. I can remember all the lyrics. Well, I can't remember The Wind Beneath My Wings anymore. I kind of flushed that, but yeah, it's funny how
we'll
that
allow
works.
that.
Yeah.
We'll allow that. So this weekend was the world premiere of your new movie. So it's out now. I think there's 2 more showings here at Phoenix Film Festival. So how was opening night, and what's the future plans?
Yeah, it was a great response. I'm always nervous, but it's always a relief when it goes on, and so I feel a lot better now that everything, kind of, that the first screening's done now. Yeah, I was just really happy with how people reacted to it, because you never know. Like, you work on it for years, and you never have a true objective feeling, and honestly, depending on the audience, it changes as well. But been really digging the reception that it's been getting, which has been very gratifying. And in terms of the future, we are looking for distribution, but we're also we're submitting it to more film festivals.
So that's what's going on with the movie. So maybe what's going on with your career and what's coming up next for you. You're in New York, correct?
I am in New York. Although I grew up in Arizona, I moved out to New York about 11 years ago. Chase that dream and also follow a girl. That's what actually brought me out there. What's up next? Well, what's the next movie that Nathan's working on? That's what's up next.
Nice deflection.
Is there a sequel?
No, there's no sequel. Yeah, spoiler alert.
Once the world
we
ends,
kill
it's
everyone.
end.
Yeah. In terms of what's up next, definitely gonna get back on the horse and do another feature. In the kind of outlining phase, I have a story that I'm working on, still trying to kind of nail down the tone and the plot line. And so once that's kind of gone, then I'll do the script, and then we'll try to get things moving. I'd love to shoot in a year from now. I don't know how realistic that is, but it would be cool to actually have a movie every 2 years. Every 3 years would be certainly respectable. But I would love it for if it the last feature I did, which was for $4,000, Billy the Blood Donor, is when I first met him, and he was in high school. So it'd be great if I did the next one a lot sooner.
I have a follow up to that. One of the things I love about working with Nathan, not only is he a wonderful director and a wonderful friend, but he creates projects that sort of demand like a big score. You know what I mean? Voyage Trekkers, last movie ever made, and that is a joy to be able to collaborate on a project with somebody who values how music can transform their project. You know, it's not just like a string pad in the background with the occasional like crescendo to add like tension and stuff like that. It's like I get to write music, you know what I mean, rather than sort of be a part of the sonic world and the sound design.
Right.
So in this next project, is there space for a big score?
Yes, but I would say so being nebulous on it because it's a weird idea and I can't describe it very well. I'll describe it to you in private. But yeah, I would say that there's room for kind of those twin sounds of like of more of a traditional soundtrack that has a little more heart, and then something that goes into a strange direction. And in this case, it's very much kind of a John Carpenter like synthesizer action movie direction.
Okay.
Yeah.
That means there's no budget then.
Right. Well, I mean, the heartstrings direction could be, because there's going to be, I think, more. Yeah. So it's. I haven't written the script, so it's hard to give you specifics.
An 80s synth sound is what I hear when I hear John
definitely
Carpenter.
kind of like a
Stranger Things sound.
Yeah.
So let everybody know where they can find both of you and your movies.
Yeah, the easiest way is go to squishystudios.com, and then you'll find all of our links to the last movie ever made, to Voyage Trekkers if you want to check that out, and to our social medias as well.
How about you?
You can find me at michaelmarkowski.com, or easier, you can just go to mike.band if you want to do that. That way you don't have to spell my name. Or just click the link below, right here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, now I got some work to do. Now I got some editing work to do.
Make sure you subscribe right here.
And like right here.
Hit this bell.
Yeah.
Hit the bell.
And if you're curious, you can actually see a couple of the cues from the film as performed by the Budapest Scoring Orchestra. So if you actually want to see what that looks like and hear what it sounds like.
Yeah, so this clip right here is a clip from the Budapest Scoring session of the main theme of from the last movie ever made. So this is, you can pay extra to, in this case, he paid extra to get video of the actual recording, which is awesome. And we cut it together from the performance of the main theme.
All right, let's take a look at that. Well, I want to thank you both for joining me today, and best of luck with this film and obviously future films and future career things and life in general. It's been great talking with you. I'm wishing a lot of success for the last movie ever made, and I have seen it, so I do recommend it. Go out and check it out if you get an opportunity. It's very fun. I think the one fun thing for me was I had no idea. It's kind of obvious that the world's ending, but I had no idea how you do it. And I think within minutes you know what the answer is, and it was very clever. So that's kudos on that one.
Thank you.
Anyhow, thank you everyone, and we'll see you next time. Bye.